You know, there are certain days that start normal and then spiral into pure insanity by noon. That morning, I was just pouring my second cup of coffee when I heard it. Slam. The front gate to my ranch flew open like a battering ram had hit it. My cattle dog, Boomer, lost his mind barking, and when I stepped outside, I swear I thought I was seeing some kind of low-budget action movie. 6 strangers, dressed in black polos with HOA enforcement in bold white letters, were storming across my gravel driveway like they were on a mission from Homeland Security. One of them had a clipboard, another had a walkie-talkie, and I swear 2 of them were carrying zip-tie handcuffs like they expected a showdown. This is HOA property now. Compliance is mandatory. One of them barked like he was storming a compound, not trespassing on my land. Now, for context, my name's Jack Delaney. I'm a retired firefighter who moved to rural Wyoming 5 years ago to get away from noise, stress, and rules written by people who'd never touched dirt in their lives. My wife passed away, and I wanted peace. For me and my 2 kids, Dylan and Ellie. I bought a 30-acre ranch miles from the nearest gas station, surrounded by nothing but hills, sky, and freedom. And most importantly, no HOA. Or so I thought. These guys were shouting about unauthorized livestock and unapproved fencing. One even tried to yank open my barn door. That's when I yelled for my son. Dylan's not the loud type, but he's got a presence. 23, quiet, built like a wrestler, and a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Trains every morning like it's church. He walked out barefoot, wiping his hands with a towel. "You've got 10 seconds to leave," he said, calm as sunrise. One of the goons laughed and stepped toward him. That was a mistake. The next few moments were a blur. Dylan moved like lightning. One guy face planted into the gravel, arm locked behind his back, crying out. Another got flipped clean through the air. Within seconds, 3 of them were groaning on the ground, and the rest froze like statues. And then, of course, one of them reached for his baton. Now, I'm standing on the porch thinking, am I actually watching a paramilitary HOA try to start a street fight on my land? Dylan didn't flinch. He sidestepped the baton swing, caught the guy's arm mid-strike, swept his legs, and brought him down hard. The baton clattered on the gravel, and that was the last straw. They backed off, faces pale, groaning about legal jurisdiction. So here's where it gets wild. This wasn't just a random attack. See, 2 months earlier, I started getting strange letters, no stamp, no return address, just a sheet of paper saying that due to zoning reclassification, my property was now under the newly formed High Ridge Preserve, HOA, which, by the way, is a luxury community 15 miles away, filled with golf carts, personal chefs, and people who think boots are a fashion statement. I laughed, threw it away. Then the threats started. Fines for dust, accusations about livestock, even demands to tear down my barn. I ignored them all. This was private land, and I had the deed to prove it. But then they showed up in person, and everything changed. Turns out, High Ridge Preserve wasn't some HOA run by bored retirees. It was a front. A developer named Martin Crowley had been quietly buying up ranches all around us. Word was, He had plans for a private airstrip and elite equestrian center. And my land? It sat right in the middle of his proposed expansion map. So he weaponized the HOA to do his dirty work: zoning manipulation, legal harassment, and intimidation. After that first standoff, I called Sheriff Monroe. He's an old-school lawman, the kind who still shakes hands and means it. But even he seemed spooked. "Jack," he said, "I've gotten a dozen complaints about you this week, from some HOA legal portal I've never even heard of. Noise, animal violations, unauthorized fencing. They're building a case." "I haven't done a thing wrong," I told him. "I know," he said, "but they've got lawyers, and they're serious." Dylan and I reinforced the gates, Ellie put up motion sensor lights, and we kept cameras rolling 24/7. Because we weren't just defending our land anymore, we were under siege. 2 nights later, it escalated again. Power cut. Total blackout. 2 black SUVs rolled up the dirt road. 8 men got out, this time in tactical gear. No HOA badges. Just batons, tasers, and masks. Dylan was already outside before I reached for my shotgun. What happened next looked like a scene from a Jason Bourne movie. He took down the first 2 with lightning speed. I fired a warning shot into the air, just bird shot, loud enough to scatter the dogs they brought with them. The rest froze in place. I shouted, "You've got 10 seconds to get off this land, or the next call I make is to the state police." They left, but I knew this wasn't over. I hired a civil rights attorney, Leah Garvey, sharp as a switchblade and twice as fast. She looked over the letters, the drone footage, the fake legal notices, and said, "Jack, they're bluffing. It's a land grab, but a clever one. You've got a case, but you'll need to fight like hell." And so we did. We filed a restraining order, a countersuit for trespassing, impersonation of officers, and illegal surveillance. But before we even got our first court date, they hit us again. This time with a demolition crew, 7:45 a.m. sharp. Bulldozers, paperwork, a smirking project manager reading off enforcement orders. What they didn't expect was 40 people lined up along the road. Neighbors, veterans, local ranchers, real people. We formed a wall. Trucks blocked the entrance, drones flew overhead. Every second was streamed to lawyers and the news. When the sheriff arrived, with the county land officer, he stood tall and said, "This is private land. The HOA has no jurisdiction. You proceed, you'll be arrested." The demolition crew shut their engines off. The HOA's lawyer, Martin Crowley's right-hand man, turned red and stormed off. But even that wasn't the end. They tried to sue us in civil court, claimed Dylan assaulted their compliance officers. But we had the footage, full, unedited video. And when our lawyer rolled the tape in the courtroom, you could hear a pin drop. The judge threw it out in 5 minutes. Later, we learned the HOA was never even legally filed to control our area. The whole thing was a shell. Their officers, unlicensed. Their zoning maps, faked. Within weeks, the entire operation collapsed under the weight of lawsuits and investigations. And us? We stayed. Dylan opened a small Jiu-Jitsu class in the old shed, called it Iron Oak Defense Academy. Taught folks how to stand strong, how to protect what's theirs without resorting to hate. Ellie painted murals on the barn, bright, bold, fearless. And I finally sat on the porch with a coffee that didn't go cold. We never asked for this fight, but we finished it. Not with bullets, with backbone, with neighbors, with truth. So tell me, have you ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA? A developer trying to bully their way through your home, your peace, your rights? I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Let's talk about what's happening in our neighborhoods and how we stand up for what matters. Because if they try it again, we'll be waiting.